Oh, 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 excuse me. Hello there, traveler. No, don't go away. Don't go away. Come here, come here. Yes. Let me. I have a tale to tell you. Yes, indeed, a tale. A horrible, mystifying, terrible tale. The tale of the. Yes, here it is. Yes. Best movie I've ever seen. Come. Let me tell you and show you all about it. 2002's Dungeons and Dragons was like an awful movie. And I know I might sound a little bit biased just because, I've spent countless amount of money on all kinds of, Dungeons and Dragons stuff and Wizards of the Coast products. But let me tell you, friends, the movie sucked dick. Main reason why it sucked dick. Do you fucking mind, piece of shit? Kill yourself. Now, as far as digestibility goes, you could literally set a fucking potato down in front of this goddamn movie and it would understand what's going on. It'd be perfectly fine. The potato would be like, yeah, I watched the movie, I understood what happened, it sucked. So where the movie really sucked, it was in its writing. And not so much the background or the story or the way the world building and like the background, but the way the characters were written sucked penis. Now let me show you folks a little something. So this is my adventurer's journal. Right here, I spent $30 on it, and in it I've got all of this stuff. I've also got this right here, which is the same kind of thing, but I made my own. And all this nonsense, and then like these guys, all of this stuff is to help make your characters, not so much Xanathar's. Actually, yeah, I take that back. Xanathar's guide does have quite a bit. It's a cool book. All of that stuff is so that players that are playing a character in Dungeons and Dragons can create unique, interesting, and in-depth characters, which is what the Dungeons and Dragons movie did not have. The characters were bland, boring, predictable. Freaking one of the characters, I didn't even know the name of the character until the credits. I didn't hear his name until the credits. Like, that's how awful the writing of this movie was. My other issue as far as writing goes is that when you have... Bitch. Those are my notes! Those are my... It's a map. Of the Temple of Reclamation, where cultists were trying to regain the height and strength that they thought they were supposed to have because they thought they were descended from giants. But my players don't fucking know that because they don't take enough time to study the unique and interesting ancient temple I made. See, that's what I'm talking about as far as writing goes, is that, like, because the two parts of the writing, the world and the characters, are split up between the dungeon master and the players. That means everything becomes more in depth. The characters have layers and unique and interesting twitches, and they speak in weird accents. And they have beef with other characters in this world, and if you're doing it right, then the dungeon master and the players have talked to each other, and the dungeon master has gone like, okay, well, what's their backstory? And the players said blah 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 blah, and then the dungeon master says, oh yeah, I've got something like blah 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 blah, and then like, what if we? And then they tweak it, and everything gets changed to where the characters end up sewn into the world that the dungeon master has built. and the world that the Dungeon Masters built has become richer and fuller because of this part, and this part becomes richer and fuller because of this part, and everything gets fleshed out. I've got journals, right? I've got journals, and I've got all this shit, and I've got folders full of just ideas and notes on my worlds that I've created and all of this stuff. And watching the Dungeons and Dragons movie, it felt like someone had just bullshitted their entire way through this. As far as the special effects, costumes, music, acting, cinematography was concerned, there wasn't really anything bad. The CG is crummy, but that's because it's from 2002, so you get, and it's a B film. It's a 2002 B film. You get what you pay for. Now, one thing I will say, which was really weird for me, is that the acting was all fairly well done, I thought. I thought all the actors were really good, but the way their characters were written sucked. Wow, that feels really real. Too bad it doesn't make any sense. The costuming was really well done. One of the hard parts about making costumes for this kind of thing is getting enough layers of stuff. Because you want to have like you've got pants, and then you've got something over the pants, and then you've got a belt, and the belt has all this little stuff hanging down. They did a good job of layering these costumes. I felt like, as far as the music goes, I was listening to some of it, and I was like, you know, if I was ever playing somewhere where I had the ability to play music and put background music on, I might actually use some of this music for it. Some of the music was all really well done, just like the acting and the costuming. The only thing holding this damn movie back is the writing. All in all, I thought that the movie was terrible because of the writing. And I feel like if you want to watch Dungeons and Dragons, if you want to watch Dungeons and Dragons, you should watch Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot that doesn't work right when you're trying to this movie, I don't know what was up with it. It's like literally they could have sat down and played a game where everyone, that's the thing, right? Because they could have literally just played a game of Dungeons and Dragons, like either recorded it, just recorded the audio and written it down, or just had someone write it all down, and then they could have turned that into the movie. That's all it takes.